Some mysteries aren't buried beneath the earth. They're hidden between the lines of letters that no one can find. At the height of the Roman Empire's power, one man held the fate of millions in his hands: Emperor Trajan. More than just a conqueror, he was a thoughtful and strategic ruler, known for exchanging hundreds of letters with generals, governors, and philosophers across the empire. These letters once carried commands for war, insights into law and governance, opinions on religion, and strategies that shaped an empire. But strangely, most of them have vanished without a trace. Were they lost in the fires of war, deliberately destroyed by successors who fear their contents? Or are they still hidden in a forgotten archive, waiting to be uncovered? What truths has history chosen to keep silent? In today's video, we'll dive deep into the mystery of the missing letters of Emperor Trajan, a puzzle that could reshape everything we thought we knew about ancient Rome. And if you're passionate about unsolved mysteries from the ancient world, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a journey into the unknown. Who was Trajan, the man who shaped the Roman Empire? Picking up from the mystery of the lost letters, we cannot begin to grasp their true importance without first understanding the man behind them, Emperor Trajan. A figure who didn't just rule Rome but redefined its legacy. Born Marcus Ulpius Traianus in 53, Anno Domini in Hispania, he rose through military ranks with a reputation for discipline and strategic brilliance. In 98, Anno Domini, following the death of Emperor Nerva, Trajan was adopted as his successor and assumed power, ushering in what many historians would later call the Golden Age of the Roman Empire. But Trajan was not merely a military man. He was a visionary leader whose reign saw Rome expand to its greatest territorial extent. His campaigns against the Dacians were fierce and unrelenting, resulting in the annexation of vast lands and unimaginable wealth pouring into Rome. Not long after, his eyes turned eastward to the Parthian Empire, further extending Rome's dominance. Yet, Trajan's genius wasn't confined to the battlefield. Back in Rome, he orchestrated sweeping infrastructure projects, massive roads, aqueducts, harbors, and the magnificent Trajan's Forum, all symbols of order, strength, and a promise of prosperity. What set him apart even more was his approach to governance. Unlike many of his predecessors, Trajan saw himself not as a distant god emperor, but as a servant of the Roman people. His famous motto, Senatus Populusque Romanus, the Senate and the people of Rome, wasn't just rhetoric. He lived it. His policies reflected deep respect for the Senate, and his decisions often favored the common citizen. He was one of the few emperors whom the Senate would consistently refer to with admiration. Even after his death, this delicate balance of power, ambition, and humility made Trajan one of the most revered figures in Roman history. And it is precisely because of his influence that the disappearance of his letters raises such troubling questions. What kind of decisions, thoughts, and secrets might they have contained that now remain lost to time? As we delve deeper, each step takes us further into the shadowed corridors of forgotten history, where one of Rome's greatest minds once wrote words the world was never meant to forget: the letters, a forgotten treasure of knowledge. While Trajan's legacy as a warrior and builder is carved in stone across the ancient world, a far more delicate and perhaps more profound legacy once existed in ink. His letters, in the vast machinery of the Roman Empire, letters were not mere formalities. They were instruments of power, windows into the emperor's mind, and lifelines that held the empire's distant corners together. These documents contained decisions on governance, legal interpretations, civil rights, religious practices, and more. For a realm so sprawling and diverse, written correspondence served as the emperor's voice, echoing across provinces, carrying not just commands but also principles, priorities, and philosophies of leadership. The most famous and only substantial collection that survives today is the correspondence between Trajan and Pliny the Younger, then governor of Bithynia Pontus, These letters, preserved almost by accident through Pliny's literary efforts, are a rare portal into the mind of a ruler, otherwise shrouded in the grandeur of monuments. Within these exchanges, we see Trajan's ruling style with startling clarity, careful, measured, and deeply pragmatic. He doesn't issue decrees like a distant despot. He asks questions, weighs the consequences, and often defers to local judgment. Pliny, for his part, asks about everything from managing public funds and handling infrastructure to how to deal with the rising presence of Christians in the region. Trajan's responses are striking not for their authoritarianism, but for their restraint. He avoids cruelty, urges fairness, and insists on proportional justice. This glimpse, however precious, is painfully incomplete. Scholars estimate that Trajan must have sent hundreds if not thousands of letters throughout his reign. Communications with other governors, military leaders, and even foreign rulers would have been routine. What policies did he craft for provinces beyond Bithynia? How did he handle delicate conflicts in regions like Egypt, Gaul, or Syria? What were his thoughts on political philosophy, religious diversity, or the succession of power? These answers likely lived within those vanished letters, answers that could radically deepen our understanding of Roman rule at its apex. The fact that only this one thread of correspondence remains is one of the great historical frustrations. Where did the rest go? Why has the Roman world, which was so diligent in preserving laws, architecture, and literature, allowed these vital letters to vanish? Were they simply lost to time, scattered in burned archives or decayed scrolls? Or was their disappearance the result of something more deliberate, an erasure motivated by fear, politics, or scandal? What we are left with is a skeleton of what once was a living, breathing exchange of imperial thought. The true scale and richness of Trajan's written guidance, its philosophical weight and legal innovation, may forever remain a mystery, obscured beneath centuries of silence. And that silence isn't just a gap in the historical record. It's a chasm into which countless insights into one of history's greatest empires have fallen. What might be hidden in the missing letters? If the surviving letters offer us a narrow window into Trajan's mind, then the missing ones represent entire chambers of thought, sealed off by time. The question that haunts historians isn't just where the letters went, but what they might have contained. Considering Trajan's expansive rule and the complexity of governing such a diverse empire, these letters were likely filled with content far more intricate than mere administrative orders. Some scholars speculate that among the missing documents were confidential military plans, strategies for campaigns that stretched across the Danube and deep into Parthian territory. These plans could reveal how Trajan assessed his enemies, how he calculated risk, and what long-term vision he had for Rome's imperial borders. Understanding those strategies might even reshape our perception of Roman military doctrine at its most advanced stage. But warfare was only one piece of the puzzle. Another vital thread, likely woven through the lost letters, involves the early tensions between the Roman state and the rising tide of Christianity. The preserved letters to Pliny already hint at this tension, showing Trajan as cautious, advising the Christians not be sought out actively, yet punished if proven guilty by law. What else did he say on the matter? Were there private correspondences in which he expressed deeper concern, sympathy, or even fear regarding the spread of this new faith? Did he lay out frameworks for religious tolerance or persecution that influenced later emperors? Such insights could redefine our understanding of Rome's religious policies during a critical moment of transformation. Then there's the economic heart of the empire, its lifeblood. How did Trajan manage taxation across provinces with wildly different economic systems? What were his directives on grain distribution, labor laws, trade routes, and public spending? Rome's infrastructure boom under Trajan didn't fund itself. There must have been letters detailing the financial mechanics behind this prosperity. These could include debates over taxation fairness, handling inflation, or managing wealth disparities between classes. A strikingly modern set of concerns, policies on land ownership, investment in colonies, and the movement of goods across borders were all likely addressed through written instruction. And yet, those insights are gone. Each of these letters would have been a building block of imperial thought, a small but crucial piece of how one of the most complex and enduring empires in history actually functioned. As one historian aptly put it, every letter is a brick in the foundation of historical understanding, and those bricks have crumbled into dust. Without them, we are left piecing together a grand mosaic with only a handful of tiles. The result is not just an incomplete portrait of Trajan, but an incomplete portrait of Rome itself. Its logic, its fears, its vision of power. What we've lost is more than paper. We've lost a dialogue with an era that once shaped the world, theories surrounding the disappearance. The absence of Trajan's letters is not simply a matter of time erasing parchment. It is a mystery wrapped in layers of history, conflict, and human intent. One of the most widely accepted theories attributes the loss to the violent unraveling of the Western Roman Empire. In 410 Anno Domini, the Visigoths sacked Rome, and again in 455, the Vandals unleashed a wave of destruction so thorough that even the Latin term vandalism lives on in their name. In these moments of chaos, precious archives, often stored in temples, libraries, or imperial offices, were ransacked, torched, or looted. It is not difficult to imagine delicate scrolls, perhaps even stored in the imperial archive, being reduced to ash amidst the smoldering ruins. Such losses weren't just collateral damage, they were cultural erasures. Yet another possibility is more chilling, deliberate destruction. As new emperors rose to power, especially in the politically volatile centuries that followed Trajan, many sought to sever ties with the past. A ruler who governed wisely, whose correspondence demonstrated a blend of justice and restraint, could become a threat to those seeking to centralize authority through fear or absolutism. Eliminating Trajan's letters may have served a strategic purpose, removing precedents, erasing comparisons, rewriting history. In such a context, destroying documents wasn't an accident of war, but an intentional act of control. But not all theories end in fire and secrecy. Some scholars believe the letters may still exist hidden, forgotten, buried in time. Ancient libraries, such as those in Alexandria, Antioch, or Pergamum, once housed vast troves of scrolls. Some of these centers were damaged or destroyed, yes, but others may have merely fallen into disuse, their contents sealed in vaults or scattered among private collections. In the medieval era, monasteries often became guardians of classical knowledge. Could a scroll bearing Trajan's hand lie dormant in the cellar of a European abbey, cataloged wrongly or not at all? The possibility may sound romantic, but it is not without precedent. Countless classical texts have resurfaced centuries after being presumed lost. Then there is the simplest and perhaps saddest theory of all the letters were never copied. In an era before printing presses or mass duplication, many of Trajan's letters would have existed in only a single original handwritten, delivered to a specific recipient, and never archived officially. Some may have been read once and discarded, others stored privately and forgotten. A flood, a fire, a single careless steward could have consigned these irreplaceable words to oblivion. Without copies, there is no redundancy, no second chance for memory. Taken together, these theories form a mosaic of loss, war, politics, secrecy, neglect. All may have played a role, and in each possibility lies a reflection of human nature, our tendency to fight, to control, to forget. The silence where those letters should be is not just historical, it is profoundly human, and it leaves us grasping for echoes, chasing shadows, piecing together a vanished voice that once spoke across the empire. The impact, if they are found, if even a handful of Trajan's lost letters were to resurface today, the ripple effect through modern historical scholarship would be nothing short of revolutionary. These documents wouldn't just fill in footnotes. They could upend entire chapters of what we think we know about the Roman Empire. First and foremost, Roman law, so foundational to Western legal tradition, could be clarified or even reinterpreted. Trajan was known for a pragmatic, citizen-focused approach to justice, and his private correspondences may reveal how nuanced or flexible that justice truly was in practice. Hidden within those lines might be directives on capital punishment, land disputes, or legal protections for non-citizens that could reshape how we view Roman fairness or rigidity. Beyond law, imagine uncovering detailed accounts of how Rome managed its sprawling colonies. We might find models of governance tailored to individual provinces, guidelines for balancing Roman control with local autonomy, strategies for managing dissent, or detailed census records that expose the true scale and structure of the imperial machine. The way Rome negotiated power with tribal leaders, integrated local economy, or imposed taxes could become clearer, and with that, our understanding of how Rome held such vast territory together for so long would gain a new layer of depth. Then there are Rome's foreign relations, letters discussing the Dacians, Parthians, Jews, or Germanic tribes might shed light not only on military campaigns, but on cultural diplomacy negotiations, bribes, hostages, and compromises that don't appear in traditional chronicles. If Trajan discussed motivations behind wars, or commented candidly on his perception of these peoples, we could discover an empire far more politically intricate than we've imagined. A single letter might shift the narrative from conquest to cohabitation, or reveal hidden tensions beneath Rome's imperial facade. Religion, too, could be transformed, with Christianity just beginning to rise during Trajan's rule. Any additional commentary on the new sect, how to treat its followers, whether to tolerate or suppress their gatherings would be invaluable. We might learn how much of Rome's early religious policy was driven by fear, curiosity, or mere indifference. A lost letter elaborating on Pliny's inquiries, for instance, could show us whether persecution was systematized or sporadic, reactionary or strategic. It could also highlight how the Roman state began to grapple with an ideological force it could not assimilate. Even one recovered document could ripple through these layers: legal, political, religious, and redefine Trajan's image, not just as a military leader or wise administrator, but as a philosopher of power. The narratives we teach, the textbooks we publish, the values we extract from Rome's legacy, all could shift dramatically, like uncovering a new verse in a sacred text or finding a missing scene in a play. Such a discovery wouldn't just add, it would alter. History would blink and see itself anew. Conclusion: Trajan's lost letters are far more than forgotten documents. They are key pieces of a civilization's foundation, shaping law, governance, and culture. Their disappearance leaves a gap in history, but the possibility remains that some scrolls may still lie hidden, waiting to be uncovered in dusty vaults or buried ruins. If you're fascinated by ancient mysteries and the secrets that history hasn't yet revealed, don't forget to subscribe. Together, let's explore the untold stories of the past and bring lost worlds back to life.